Hello and welcome to Bunto's Silent Dogfight, episode number 27, Anti-Religion. Our special guest tonight is the fabulous Ask-an-Atheist Sid. And as per usual, we'll open up the show to participants after the presentation. Thanks. Welcome to the show, Sid. How are you doing?
Thank you, Bunto. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm doing very well.
Very good, Sid. You know, I like to inform our listeners, I've been many a time on Sid's fabulous show, Reason Speak. And sorry, I was just having some cross issues there. I had the other live window. Let me go ahead and give a quick nutshell on our fabulous guest. He's located in Vancouver, Canada. He's a well-known atheist within our community, as well as a fantastic host of his show on secular TV known as Reason Speak. So, Sid, could you go ahead and tell our listeners what that show is all about?
Sure, Bunto. Secular TV is a network, a TV network on the internet. We communicate mainly through YouTube videos, hangouts, and so forth. What we are trying to do is reach out to the secular community at large with as much diverse content as we can get. Everybody's welcome to watch, and everybody's welcome to join and be a content creator with whatever it is you got to say to a secular community.
Great. That's a weekly show?
It's a weekly show.
What kind of guests do you have on there?
I don't normally have guests.
Okay.
I sometimes have people who happen to drop in for the show, to be on the show, but I never know. It's not. I don't have a prediction up until the time I start, and even beyond, whether anyone's actually going to show up to co-host, to give an opinion, to whatever.
There's a regular that you have on your show that is one of my favorites. His name is Kenny.
Yes, Kenny. Well, Kenny has been a regular, and he is a regular when he comes, but he doesn't. Again, he's one of the unpredictables. If he's there, he makes the show great. If he's not there, the show's not so great.
Okay, Sid, what do you like about Kenny?
I like Kenny is a
bright young man.
He's a bright young man, says exactly what he knows, and he doesn't, and he only talks about what he knows and what is real. He doesn't, and he attacks the delusionals.
Right. I like to
attack the delusionals.
Inform our listeners, a bright young man who is an atheist.
Oh, that's taken for granted.
Well, Sid, did you know today that only 6% of people claim to be atheists in America?
I'd say that more like 66%.
Oh, really?
In America, yes. In the world, really.
Okay.
I'm not saying what people for the Islamic world in particular. They say there's 1.2 billion whatever Muslims, right? And if you ask every single one of them, they'll say, yes, of course, I'm a Muslim. Because if they don't, they're liable to be, harmed in one way or another. So, of course, they're not going to say it. So my opinion is that most people in any country, including Saudi Arabia, are atheists.
Well,
closeted atheists, maybe.
I think that's, a bridge to sell people in some of the atheist communities we know. But let me ask you this, Sid. When you encounter people, does their religious beliefs usually come up, just when you meet somebody for the first time? Or do you just, how do you approach?
Well, are you talking about
the idea that there's 66% atheists within our world? I mean, go ahead and elaborate on that one.
Sorry, how do I approach it?
Right. I mean, the idea that there's 66% atheists.
Well, it doesn't bother me. I'm fine with it.
Is
I treat everybody.
I would be more than fine with it if that.
I treat everybody as though they have a free mind and an open mind, just like you and I have.
Sure. So when
until I find out different.
I mean, you have to discern that they're atheists. I mean, they're talking Jesus, they're talking Muhammad, they're talking Yahweh.
If that happens, then they're just Jehovah's Witnesses. That's all I really believe.
Jehovah's Witnesses.
But
okay, no, you live in Canada, right? So to you,
I don't
full of atheists.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
You live in Canada, right? So to you, it's a world chock full of atheists, right?
Yes.
Well, in America, it's a different story. We have wall-to-wall faith heads, churches. You know, just the religious thing is put down our throats.
You know the thing about America.
There's no billboards that say there are no gods here in America. I mean, it's quite the opposite. It's Jesus is king.
America is Canada's. You know, if Canada had a favorite cartoon show to watch, and if America was a cartoon show in the vein of, say, Family Guy, that would be the position of Canada watching the USA. It's like watching a real life Family Guy go on.
Okay, so Canada is a majority atheist country.
Yeah.
Would that be news to Canadians?
No.
Okay, it's news to us Americans. Well, all right. You live in the atheist world. I don't. Okay, so let's just start digging in here. Let me go ahead and introduce why, you know, I decided to, after a big lull, I'm sure some of our listeners noticed I didn't have any hangouts, but I'm going to go ahead and have this hangout here. And I just want to say what spurred it was this atheist only poll that I like to describe to you. Let me go ahead and screen share it so that people can see what I'm talking about. Just a second. Okay, if you can see this is a poll that I had this week. It sort of was a spare of the moment poll that came to my mind. I put it on this great site that Alan Bombier has. It's called Atheists Only. And I'd like to thank him firstly for creating such a great community that atheists can indulge in. You can look for it on G+. Let's take a look at this poll. All right. I thought of just 5 categories because that's all they allow for a G+ poll. And the title is, Why Today Do You Find Religion Distasteful? And we had 54 votes, and this is how the categories broke down. The first one I chose was its vast destructive power, which came in at 28%. Now, the reason I picked that category was because we have these things called defenders, like bulldogish defenders, people that still adhere to separation of state and church, people that can see that theology is a force for destruction. People like Christopher Hitchens, let's say. That came in at 28%. The second category I picked was its pointless sentimentality. That's the one that I personally voted in, and it came in only at 9%. It was second to last. And that to me is because I am in that category more towards the artists, people that can see that, you know, any sort of expression that religion brings to the table is kind of, you know, it just has no sense with what it's trying to say. For example, they're trying to say how great it is that they crucified a guy in Christianity. I mean, there's some sort of pointless sentimentality there that just eludes the artist. Okay, the third category I picked was its utter hypocrisy, and that came in at 22%, so it still had a strong showing. I sort of aimed at the lawyers, you know, people that can see, you know, that the laws of religion say one thing and yet they do another. The fourth category, let me go on, is its limited utility towards progress. And this is the one that won the poll at 37%. And that's really for, you know, I would have to characterize them as a socialist, people that want social progress within our community. So if you do, you know, go to the atheist only community, there's a lot of progressives there, and they just do not like religion. And the fifth and final one is, it came in at last. It was at, let me see, 2% or so. Yeah, 4%, sorry. It's incomprehensible mysticism. And I sort of picked that category for the scientist. You know, a scientist deals in reality, he deals in formulas, he deals in things that are part and parcel of our reality. And if you look at religion on its face, when it talks about the Trinity and the Holy Spirit, I mean, there's things there that, well, I'm just picking the Christian religion, but there's many more, you know, facets in Judaism and Islam. I'm just picking out the Abrahamic religions for this show that are just totally incomprehensible towards anybody with a scientific mindset. Okay, so at this point, let me go ahead and stop there and just ask Sid, what's your opinion, Sid, of this poll?
I voted it's utter hypocrisy.
Okay, the lawyerish.
Yeah, because I've always felt that it's utter hypocrisy. And in a way, I kind of voted wrong.
Oh, okay. How so?
Because the fact that religion is hypocrisy with a capital H does not mean that it doesn't have its place. It doesn't have its supporters. What my beef with religion is its place in the hierarchy of our
Morality,
not
ideal.
our morality, of our infrastructure.
Okay,
Of our government
governance.
infrastructure, of our social infrastructure, of our community infrastructure. I think it's poisonous right from the very get-go. There are very few people who are not affected by religion or indoctrinated into some kind of a woo-woo supernatural kind of knowledge before the age of 7, and that is very difficult to release.
Okay, well, you're like 50 miles in the sky, and I'm just 5 centimeters off the ground.
Sorry.
Okay, well, I mean, because you're talking at a higher level. Well, let me tell you this. Okay, they say religion has great morality to it, and then the pastor is a pedophile. You know what I mean? They say that
That's because if the morality of religion, the pastor being a pedophile is not the problem.
Okay.
Because he's just following his book. He says his book says he can do whatever the hell it is. He can slip and he can slide and he can, but then he can just ask for forgiveness. So it's really not a problem. The problem is the book, and the problem is the book in our law courts. I mean, you come up with it's a choice for the lawyers. It's utter hypocrisy. But every single one of those lawyers has to go, and stick their hand on the Bible and then their right hand and the other hand in the air and say, upon this Bible, I promise that I'm going to tell the truth. There's hypocrisy right there.
Okay.
I mean, I really could go on. I hate this the scriptures being a part of public life so much. It's just a hobby, dude.
Would you accept religion if it wasn't hypocritical?
Like Satanism or Wiccan or what?
Take your pick. I mean, if religion for
I don't have to accept religion.
Innately hypocrisy.
I don't have to accept or not accept a stamp collecting club. I don't have to accept or not accept a miniature steam engine building club. I don't have to. It doesn't matter. As long as it's not in my face, I don't care.
Really? Okay. Well, the thing is, what is wrong? What is distasteful about religion? It's hypocrisy, and maybe there's some religion out there that's not hypocritical. Would you?
Well, I'll tell you what happened. I once went to Montreal for a visit, a few days, and I took one of those tour bus trips. Right, you go and you buy a ticket, you get in a bus, and the guy takes you around, and he takes a whole bunch of people around, and he gives you a talking tour of Montreal.
All right.
Now, a lot of the driving was around, old Catholic, this, that, and the others, and Catholic monuments and Catholic shrines, and then we stopped at the Catholic cathedral, and we went inside, and it was a whole big, and it was all about I go to Montreal, and I go on a city tour, and I get shown religion. What the fuck? And this is in every single city you go to, you're going to find that. You're not going to get a secular city tour. You're going to get a city tour that milks religion.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a moneymaker for them. But, I have to tell you, frankly, Sid, I find religion just innately hypocritical. I mean, the fact that there's some sort of one thing in our universe that is right, that does not deteriorate, that has no adherence to physical laws and reality that we see around us is, the way to go. And it's not, in a way, just purely hypocritical as far as compared to the way our science works and what we've discovered about our universe. It's just religion for me is solely a man-made concept, and evidently so. I mean,
no, I agree with you 100%.
It's going to be hypocritical.
The hypocritical part of it is, that's the best part of it.
The hypocrisy is the best part.
It's evil. It's dangerous. It's poisonous.
Okay, well, all right. Of all the, the 5 choices that I got here, I mean, you would stick still with hypocrisy, or would you just go more over to destructive power?
Well, its vast destructive power is not it's not part of religion. It's because we let it. It's not that what it does. It's what we let it do.
Okay.
So it's a matter of changing, of taking this religion and saying to all those theists who want to be part of it, okay, no problem. Go and play your little games, okay? Your special form of Dungeons and Dragons. Go ahead, but take it off. Take it out of government. Take it out of the community center. Take it out of the school. Take it out of everywhere. It's just, it's as important as Shakespeare. So now go and do what you want with it.
I see. Like, accept it more as art expression than anything.
Yeah,
a system of government, right?
It's a man-made work of art. So why wouldn't it be part of man-made works of art?
Okay, when you meet theists, you tell them it's artistic expression only, or what do you tell them exactly?
When I meet them, like in person,
Sure.
I don't have occasion to do that.
Okay, when you go to a Google Hangout, you tell people that, hey,
I just say
what you're
God is
talking about, Neff,
impossible.
is
I just
great
say God
art.
is impossible. There cannot be one, and whatever else you want to draw, whatever you want to make of it, I don't care. Hey, Tanya.
Interesting. Okay, well, let me go ahead and just segue that to another part. Subject to, I consider myself pretty much an anti-religionist. How about you, Sid? I mean, you see some redeeming qualities to religion?
No.
Okay, so
None.
I go ahead and
None
characterize
whatsoever.
you as an anti-religionist.
Well, I'm not an anti-religionist because I don't see why if somebody wants to be religious, he shouldn't be religious. I think that's
Okay.
a freedom that anybody has. It's a delusion. It's crazy, but that's for that person to find out for himself or herself.
Okay, so you're way okay with the religious experience within our society?
No, I'm not okay with anything to religious.
Okay, so
not okay with it.
what's so bad about anti-religion? I mean, why not we, take a flying whack at it and try it in a society?
You know what? If you direct the energy of the anti-religion movement towards the ideology or the theology and the ideology of the woo-woo, of the supernatural, if you go and dilute the ideology so that these people can understand the diluted version, which of course homeopathically becomes water and nothing, and if it sinks in to the general population at large, to the 33% that are left.
Okay, Sid, what is religion to you? Let's just stick with the Abrahamics, okay?
Submission.
Okay, well, let's pick one and just go down. Okay, Judaism, all right? What do you think of Judaism? Submission, right? To me, Judaism is, Zionism, that it's a religion that is evident today, is that it's a way of expanding your country. I mean, to say that, hey, God told me that I can take over your land, that's the only utility that I can see within Judaism, right? It's a tribal religion that, only has specific adherents that it's looking for. It's, easy in its face to differentiate.
Well,
from
I don't know if
the
you
other
could
Abrahamic.
really...
I mean, you're either a Jew or not, right?
Well, absolutely, but then you don't have to be a Zionist if you're a Jew. There's a difference there. The one's a religion and one's a movement, and
there are these Jews that tell them to give back the land to the Palestinians, right? They have equal voice within.
Well, there's the ultra. Well, you know what? There's the crazy on the left in Israel, and there's the crazy on the right, and 70%, when I lived there, 70% of Israel was secular, like you and me.
Okay.
But
they weren't expanding their country then, right? 67.
I didn't live there in 67.
Well, I mean, the reason this country was created,
they haven't finished expanding the country. This is the problem.
That's exactly right. They're not through making an enemy of everybody around them and not finding any way of settling with them.
And they'll be able to secure the whole of Israel, east of the West Bank. West of the Jordan River, and
for now.
No, it'll happen. It'll be long term because they'll have one solid, secure border, and they know what they're doing. And everybody who's secular in Israel is happy except for the conflict. And if Israel was the all the land west of the Jordan River, there'd be still the same amount of secular people. There'd still be 70% secular,
Well,
even amongst the Palestinian people. There's still a lot of
I
secular.
dare say it's hard for me.
Just fine.
I dare say it's hard for me to distinguish the secular Jews from the Zionistic Jews, as far as the policy of that country. Okay, why don't we leave that there for now and jump to a real fun religion, Abrahamic religion known as Islam. To me, that is just pure fanaticism, nihilistic goals, and the dream of one world caliphate, 72 virgins.
How do women get sucked into Islam? Like
explain that to me.
Virgins, I'm going to go. That's my whole deal in life here. How does it make a woman on earth feel when all the men around are running away to blow themselves up for fucking virgins in heaven?
That's right up there as surprising as a U.S. president going to a mosque and saying it's a religion of peace.
Big mistake.
Okay. Why can't Islam be satisfied with, being like Mormonism?
Because Islam is it's imperialist. It's expansionist.
Right.
It's unforgiving. It's rigid.
Patriarchy.
It's patriarchal. It's subjugating.
What's not to love about that religion?
It's anti-freedom, anti-individualism. Let's face it. You can't play music. You can't. You can't enjoy yourself unless you're enjoying yourself for Allah in Islam,
LGBT,
and that is a submission that no one should be submitted to.
Okay. We're two anti-religionists just telling our listeners, hey, this is the way it is, right? Okay, let's get to the one that's closest to our locality, Christianity, right? To me, Nietzsche was right when he said it is the servility religion. It is the religion of slavery. Yes, they offer you that your sins will be absolved as long as you obey. What's your take on Christianity, right?
Christianity is the biggest cop-out invented in ever in the history of humanity. It's the biggest cop-out ever invented. I'm absolutely sure about that.
It's the 21st century, and yet we're talking about being slaves to Christ. Opinion?
First world problem.
Why do we drag the carcass of the Bible around within our political system? Isn't it kind of shameful?
It's pathetic. Pathetic.
Okay, of those three religions, which one would you sit next to on the 7-hour plane ride to, to, let's say, freaking Thailand? You're going to sit next to the Muslim, you're going to sit next to the Jew, you're going to sit next to the Christian.
The Muslim.
Okay, so when the bomb goes off, you're the first one to get it?
Let it be so.
Okay, so you told me earlier that, hey, it's cool for people to go ahead and worship whatever religion they want to. You still believe in religious freedom, so sort of redeeming value within a political system?
Absolutely. But I also believe in the right to privacy. If you can have your religious freedom, but you don't have to necessarily bring your religious freedom outside your house. When you come outside your house, you just walk into the melting pot of society, all right? In your house, you can do whatever the fuck you like.
A modern country needs to have laws that, protect people's belief in Santa Claus, protects people's belief in leprechauns, and protect people's beliefs in unicorns.
No, I think society, Victorian society, Edwardian society, that they protected all that.
I tell you this, if there's two things that need to be removed right now in America, it's religious freedom laws and any sort of gun laws. Any sort of gun protection laws, the Second Amendment. obviously we're a modern progressive society that has no use for, you know, fairy tales or things that bring harm to the body as a whole. When I encounter, well, let me go ahead and dovetail this to our third thing. When I encounter people here in the great debate community, they, you know, will stand up for gun saturation, gun ownership. They will stand up for, hey, you know, let's go halfway into the madness and be polite to theists. That hasn't gotten us anywhere. You know, in fact, it's made the situation worse here. You know, just personally speaking, from all the gun violence we have here in America and all the religious fanaticism. I mean, isn't it time for, you know, some atheists to stand up and say, hey, time for, you know, silliness to go?
Well, okay, let me ask you a question then. If hypothetically, let's put a hypothetical forward here. If the if America was absolutely a secular country with no religion, there's no religion, it's all gone. Let's move ahead hypothetically.
Okay, no
years,
religious freedom laws.
Years, all the religion has gone sort of private. You know, it's there's cliques here and there, and it's but it's not a big.
About it's revealed as unreal.
All right, and the Second Amendment laws remain the same.
There's no use to them.
Do you think it's going to make any difference to the crime rates at all?
Yes, I think once we get rid of the surfeit of guns within our society, our crime will go down.
No, that wasn't the question. That wasn't the hypothetical.
What if our Second Amendment was still in place?
Okay.
The Second Amendment will lead to the destruction of this country.
Okay, well then you've got something wrong with your constitution. I think you should seriously consider your neighbors to the north and how they run their territory, which is even larger than the United States.
Sure. But you know what I like to just bring to our listeners is like, well, you know, I wanted to dovetail it to our, you know, what do we really have going on here in the great debate community for 2016?
Oh, we're done.
Okay, well, you think we're done. Why do you think we're done?
Because what is the point of talking to theists for any reason whatsoever? None. There's no reason to talk to theists. Move on. Let's talk to each other. Let's talk about other things. If you want to sit here and argue with theists left and right, I mean, all we're doing is just spinning our wheels. That's all we do.
I agree. You know, the way I approach the great debate community on one level is like a chess club where, you know, you're just looking for people who are making the wrong moves with their theology, if that interests you at that point.
It's a
but
philosophy,
also just
yeah.
For the therapy, you know, listen to the therapy of people, you know, people that I enjoy listening to, intermingling with you and others. But, you know, what we have here in the Great Debate Community 2016, we call it the Great Debate Community. People are having religious hangouts. People want to do God talk. I mean, where are the atheists to say, hey, let's, you know, move on from the delusion? I mean, do you see them? I only see a bunch of little A atheists.
You know what? It's a cat and mouse game. The atheists are the cats. The theists are the mice. And the atheists go in and play cat and mouse with the theists. That's what happens.
And it's going to happen for years and years and years, right?
Yeah, until we move on. I mean, let's face it. You know how big Dungeons and Dragons were at some point. That everybody did it. Nobody does it anymore. You know how big, I don't know, pet rocks were at some point, right? I think religion is going to go the same way. It's just going to lose its appeal. You know.
Oh, all right. Well, just, you know, speaking about the community, really. Okay, listen. This community has two things, Sid. They talk about God or they talk about G-Man. Okay, and besides, you know, the pathetic character of G-Man, I mean, we have a lot of enablers, so-called atheists that, you know, help this ship float. You know, I'm talking about people like Ozymandias, you know, the Mates and the Shanaraki of deism. Let me see.
Hold on a second. Let's take.
Well, let me go down the list. Let me go ahead. I'll go back and recurse. People like
some of these people.
Gus Bellinger, Stizor, the homo hater, and of course, you know, I can't leave out my favorite, Nadia and the Nadians, which greatly enable all of our theists. Okay, you want to stand up for people that spout word salad games all night long?
I'd like to take each name and let me see what it is you don't like.
Ozymandias. I'll let you go first.
I like philosophy. I think Ozzy's wrong in accepting the possibility that God might exist in some who knows way, but Other than that,
What kind of atheist is that? Is he an atheist, or is he,
I know he's not an
a
atheist.
useful idiot to the theists?
Well, he's very, he gives the theists hope.
I know, really. I mean, what's the point? I mean, the New Covenant group. I mean, that is the weakest atheism.
Sorry, I don't understand him, but he's very smart. He knows exactly how to. I wish I had his speaking skill.
You disagree with his particulars. I tend to disagree with the whole general concept of somehow allowing philosophy to prove something is real in our reality, which it never has done. Okay. The kid MK, okay, he's kind of a newcomer on the scene. He's having hangouts. He sort of was impressed, I could detect, by Rob Beasley, because he adopted Rob Beasley's Rob's House, Rob's Rules type of approach to running hangouts.
You think?
Yes, when you enter his hangout, he goes ahead and, blanks you out and won't allow you to, what would you say, counteract.
I've spent many times. In many of MK's hangouts. I've been in many of MK's hangouts, and he's never ever been more than respectful towards me. I don't know what you're talking about.
So you're telling him and his fellow theists that hey, there's no God. So can we move the conversation?
Well, I don't get it. I do more.
You don't get a chance.
I'm more listen.
I mean, okay, listen, Sid, we have our, these, friends, acquaintances, but I mean, their approach to atheism is, very specious. Okay, let's move on from the kid, NK. I won't blame him because he just came on the scene. Let's talk about somebody like Gus Bellinger, all right?
Okay.
Gus Bellinger is how would you describe Gus?
A Canadian from Ottawa. Woohoo!
Right? He's a master at prows. Would you say purple prows? I mean, he definitely hit the needle with Nadia, and he came out with a interesting.
I don't know what happened with Nadia and Gus. I don't know anything about that.
But as far as I don't know,
I like Gus.
Fervent, strident against theism. I have never detected.
I've been the object of. I've been the object of.
Okay.
Being the insect under Gus's hob-nailed boot.
Oh, really? Well, how about
figuratively speaking, of course.
I put it this way:
me down with his vocabulary.
Truly, but what if I tell you this? Let's suppose for one night only, Fiction Fighter, right, who we love, had the skills of Gus Bellinger. I mean, I wouldn't say they would be the same in any way. I mean, I detect the fervency in Fiction Fighter, but always. I've detected.
Well,
she does not like religion.
She goes right for the heart. She doesn't fuck around.
Right. Okay, but I mean, as far as quality atheism coming from Ottawa, not yet. Okay, or its environs, I think. All right, the next one is Stizor. All right, first thing that comes to mind is the drinking. I mean, what's the point of being okay? Is claiming that you're an atheist because you can't understand the God concept. I mean, who does that? It's like cringeworthy approach to atheism if there ever was one.
Okay, now just remember that I consider myself an objectivist, and I don't think you consider yourself an objectivist. So Stizor, I just think he's a guy having fun.
He's a guy having fun.
Yeah.
Who still, for some reason, clings to the God concept. I mean, there is no God, yet I shall still fear the shit.
He's just having fun.
Weak.
No.
Okay.
I don't think. You see, I tried. Like I say, I've always said this to every single person I've ever spoken to. I try to keep it simple. I
would put up with his, approach if it wasn't so specious, and also if he didn't have that, healthy dollop of LGBT hatred that he brings out occasionally. I mean, he is a man of limited means. He does have some redeeming qualities as far as his philosophy that he can spout, but I mean, just on its face, saying that
what is an atheist?
One cannot. I know, really. That's it. I'll just leave it at that. What is an atheist, really? Okay, let's move on to somebody like Nadia. Okay, I mean, that's so low-hanging fruit. I like Nadia, but as far as on that Chiron that she puts on her, endless hangouts, that she's an atheist. I mean, who you talking about? What you talking about, Willis? I mean, this is a woman that takes payouts directly from theists in our community. Well-known protector of theists.
I've never quite ever understood what Nadia mumbles
But the
about.
claim that she claims she's an atheist, like, yeah, right.
A fat, ugly cunt.
Okay, well, what kind of atheists do we really would like to see coming around here in 2016, Sid? I mean, we finally would like some people to call bullshit on this, or what?
No, I think everybody should follow my doctrine, because it's purest and the most simple. And if everybody were just to follow my doctrine of the infinity of existence, at its core, because there can't be any other state, then we could take on the theists, the irrationalists, and just by sheer force and numbers of rational people, we could win this battle.
Okay, rational people is important, right? Okay, when you're on Reason Speak and you're talking rationality, those people want to talk rationality, right? They don't want to talk Trinity. They don't want to talk Holy Spirit. They want to talk about things that they can test and know. Okay. I mean, how do we approach the fairy tale believer? I mean, okay, Sid, this guy, what's his name?
We don't. Everybody makes their own decisions, Bunto. The fairy tale believer will make his own decision without you and me approaching him.
Okay. We had this guy named Forbidden Fruit who caught a lot of flack last year for saying that religion is a mental illness.
Yes.
There's always a great part of me that says yes. I mean, but there's always going to be that argument. My friend Pyong brought it up
for mental illness.
It is a mental illness in my mind. Well, I'll characterize it as believing in Bible fairy tales is a mental illness.
Well, buying into a delusion in some form or another,
yes,
is a mental illness.
Okay, it's okay for me to believe in delusions, yes or no, Sid? And, drive your bus, fly your airplane. I believe in delusions.
That's not a question that makes sense, because you don't believe in a delusion. You are deluded, or you're not deluded.
Okay, well, God's telling me how to fly this airplane, right? I mean, is that going to work in a society? Or
say it again?
God's going to tell me how to fly this airplane. God helps me fly this airplane.
Well, if you've gone to lessons first, yeah, maybe.
Okay, that's what we have to deal with in our society, where we have people wearing crucifixes and stars of David. We allow the mosque minarets to be built. And we look at the basis of the religion, and it's all built on, ancient stories.
Look, religious real estate around the world is planted probably on the prime real estate areas of the particular cities, right?
Well, I'll agree with you that there's some financial aspect. What I'm trying to say is that there's people that actually believe things are true in these religions, and
that's because they're taught. So you don't.
Yeah, they're taught, but
you go to the ideology. Tell me something. Is this true? And I've heard this a couple of times that Catholics are told not to read the Bible, the whole Bible, by the priest,
right?
The Catholic Church.
They say it's better for their interpretations to come from the church itself, the edicts and the thinking behind what the Bible means. That's why the Protestant movement came about, is because they believe in sola scriptura, that they actually have to read the Bible. But of course, it's funny about that and ironic is that the majority of American Christians don't know their Bible. They don't take pains to actually study it. I mean, if they did, I'm sure they'd
Bible than any American.
We would have atheists. Okay. You don't mind, or you do have objections to somebody coming out and saying religion is a mental illness?
I have no objection to that at all.
All right. Well, okay. The religions the Christians, for one, in our community howl when they hear that, and there's a lot of atheists that will help, jump with them next to side saying that, religion really isn't a mental illness. It's, something that permeates our society, and you got to live with it. It's sort of like, I think of it like slavery, it's like, What's wrong with slavery? Let's just keep it about, until we had to have a civil war for it to go away. It was evident then that there was nothing wrong with it until the war.
I think it's these people say, "Oh, if I can believe in religion, then you can believe in science, and that's fine."
Right. There's some sort of equivocal.
Exactly. It's a false equivocation.
Right. Okay. So, Sid, as an anti-religionist, this is not going to happen in our time. Is it going to happen like 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now? Or when will the,
Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen within our time, Bunto.
It's going to happen within our time.
Yes,
Interesting.
Bunto. Yes.
What's going to cause it?
When the world changes, it changes quick.
It changes that quick.
In the modern, in the modern age, when shit happens quick. When the World War II ended, it ended quick. We've got a fucked up Afghanistan 15-year-old war going on right now, which I'm not quite sure.
Well, Well, just one thing, shortly before we'll get to that subject. That's a very fine point you brought up, Sid. Sid, well, let me give you this example today. Like, for example, last week we saw Trump, just before the Iowa caucus, go to Liberty University and talk up God, But what I'm trying to say is that, you're telling me that this thing is just going to go away quickly. And to me, it's sort of like, when an obvious
when Trump becomes president, okay, hypothetically, he's not going to talk God. He's just going to say, fuck
right,
you.
Okay, so... But we do have this, the scare, the Sarah Palins to get, one heartbeat away from, the office of presidency if McCain would have been elected.
Look, if Sarah Palin even had become president, if Obama can't be effective, then don't be disappointed when Sarah Palin's not effective.
Okay, but Sid, I'm an American, right? You're in Canada. 66% atheists. It's like, I see my president go into a mosque and talk it up. I mean,
well, my prime minister goes into a Sikh temple and puts on the little dookie thing and
why does a politician need to do that?
It's part of the multiculturalism.
Is it
identification? Yeah, they do that. It's like you have to you got to shake the baby's hands and kiss the mothers. Whatever it is.
A fervent believer in Santa Claus. Fervent believer in Bigfoot can work the same magic here in the political system. I don't think so. We should just call it what it is. It's fantasies and fairy tales.
It's dangerous. That's the thing.
It's dangerous. Yes, that's the point.
Fantasies and fairy tales are not dangerous.
Right. I'll agree with you that. But okay. Well, let's move it to something that is dangerous. Let's talk about Syria here. Okay, we're some sort of situation there where they're asking us, or Obama's picking a side of that conflict. Why should we, the Americans, why should we pick any side? Why should we do any Arabs bidding in that area?
Yes, we should actually pick a side.
Why should we pick a side?
The side should be on the side of annihilating the Islamic State. That should be the focus of
okay, you see that,
Everybody should say, okay, stop. We're going to go and kill Islamic State. That's what we're going to do. We're going to...
Of all the devils down there, we're
going to go and fucking annihilate Islamic State. That's what they should do. And the outcome of that, even though I don't want to look into the future, I can't look into the future, and I won't look into the future, but the outcome of that cannot be any worse than what it is now. It has to be
right. Better. Well, the thing is, we all could have said this thing. Is there anything worse than Al Qaeda? Well, now we got something worse. It's called ISIS.
It's called no. It's the Caliphate. Don't even say ISIS. It's the Caliphate.
Caliphate.
Yeah. The Caliphate is not something new.
You see a point to picking a side, and that side is anything against ISIS.
It's not picking a side. It's like. When Hitler came to power and everybody knew what he was doing and he fired the first shot, you went in and you killed the Nazi, you killed the Hitler, right?
Right.
You got to go in and kill the Caliphate. That's the same idea.
Okay. Well, okay. How can I say this? Well, all right. You say that, okay, we kill the enemies of Israel and everything's going to be well done, right? Everything's going to work out as long as we start killing the enemies of Israel.
Are you an enemy of Israel?
No, I'm not. I don't have that much power. I don't have
a friend of Israel?
No, not a friend of Israel, because it's sort of like they are what'd you say, infected our system of government here. The Iraq War was brought courtesy of Israel. If
And
you
how do
didn't
you
know
figure
that,
that?
well, you
Can you
just look at
explain that?
Yes, they had this thing called the Mayberry Mafia, which was essentially the Bush administration. And the day that 9/11 was attacked, they were already planning how to attack Iraq. And that was pretty much on the
Yeah, but what's
behest
Israel got?
of. Yeah, well, that was. Well, let me finish. That was pretty much at the behest of Israel. They wanted Saddam Hussein removed.
Okay, do you know
Okay,
why though? Do you know how?
why?
I'll tell you why. Because at the time, if you remember, it was a period where suicide bombings and explosions and terrorist killings within Israel was at a sort of a there was a constant stream of people being killed in suicide bombings. And what Saddam Hussein was doing was he was giving the families of the suicide bombers $25,000 for a successful suicide bombing. So
Right.
he was promoting this kind of thing, and Israel was building the wall and all this kind of, and Saddam Hussein was paying for suicide bombing. He was actually the one who was funding it, and he was the one who was rewarding it. And he was a statesman doing this. This is something that is it's as bad as giving Iran the nuclear bomb. Take him out. Take him out.
Iran. Okay, so with the great, getting rid
Ask
of
him to
Saddam.
stop, and if he doesn't stop, take him out. Simple.
Well, we did better than stopping. We killed him on the behest of the Israelis, and what did we get for that?
We
got something called. We got something called ISIS for doing that great favor to Israel. We got rid of one maniac for
the caliphate is ISIS. And don't even say ISIS. Just say caliphate. Because
the caliphate, apples, oranges in my mind.
No,
I mean, potato. Anyway, listen.
ISIS has borders. Caliphate is.
We went ahead and
is what they've got right now.
Fine. We went ahead and regime changed Iraq. This is what we got in return. Okay, we got even a bigger mess going into Syria.
Look at the myriad of mistakes we made.
All right. Okay. We have this interesting war going on in Afghanistan. It's an interesting way of waging war. It's gone on for quite a long time, and the American people still don't know what's going on over there. What say you about that?
Afghanistan?
Yes. I mean, how long has it been going on? You mentioned it earlier.
I got one word. I got two words to say about Afghanistan. The first one is profits.
Profits for war profiteers.
Is jobs. That's it.
Well, okay. The Afghanistan war has been going on for how long, Sid?
It's not a war. It's a business.
How long has this business been going on, Sid?
15 years.
How long did World War II last?
At tops 6 years.
Okay.
And you know why?
Why?
Because the generals got together and figured out how to go in and kill the enemy.
All right.
That's why.
Our generals don't want to achieve victory.
No, the politicians don't want the generals to achieve victory.
Okay, America votes for people that don't
remember. You got to remember that in the Second World War, the Churchill and Roosevelt and Truman and Stalin, those guys said, okay, you're the generals. You figure out how. We are going to go and take out this Hitler guy. We want to take him out. You go figure out how to do it.
All right.
They did, and they took him out. Now, in the Afghanistan war, the Taliban or whoever, there's this guy who like he's been absent. The head of the Taliban, they haven't found him in fucking 15 years. He's still hiding somewhere. so it's for the general. It's for the democracies to say to the generals, okay, there's the guy who you need to find, who you haven't found for 15 years. You got to go find him. You got to take him out. There's the guy who's running the caliphate in Raqqa in Syria. You got to go find him. You got to take them out. Then the generals figure out how to do it, and they do it. That's what
ideally, right? Okay, Sid. In America, we have people running for president that don't even mention Afghanistan. How does that impress you?
Because nobody's asking them about Afghanistan. Hold on, no one's asking them about Afghanistan.
Okay,
I promise you they'd be mentioning Afghanistan a lot if somebody was asking them about it.
People have detected that there's something outrageously wrong with our mainstream media. That's why they turn to social media for, the bulk of their information.
I go to the BBC, which is the British Broadcasting Corporation, for my news. And I also go to the CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, for my news. And if there's anything that doesn't corroborate or I have a problem with, then I'll maybe look around. But I trust those two sources unconditionally, because if they do make a mistake, they fess up.
All right. What kind of news sources do people have at secular TV? I mean, are they topical with mainstream, or are they going with social media?
The problem with my relationship to the other people at secular TV is that a lot of it is into gaming. A lot of the people are into the gaming.
Interesting.
And I'm not.
Okay.
So I'm more into the, the meat of the, the current affairs and all this kind of stuff. So.
Okay. When I'm on your show,
an arm's length between me and everybody else because of that.
Right. Okay. Well, fair enough. But when I'm on your show, we talk about, the horrible condition of Raif Badawi. Just either, let's be fair, Harry, either is Islamic or Jewish, extremism taken in the Middle East. I mean, our candidates aren't talking about that. They're talking more about,
they're thanking Jesus
who can pray to Jesus first.
Yeah, they're thanking Jesus for making me come third.
They're talking about who's taking payoffs on Wall Street. They're talking about, an old guy who's never done anything in Congress is going to be a force for change here in America. Tell me, are we talking exactly about the wrong things, or exactly what the mainstream media wants us to hear?
You're puppets on a string at this point.
Okay. It's hard to disagree with that, Sid.
And especially if Clinton gets in, you're definitely puppets on a string.
Why so?
No doubt about it.
Okay, I had to, admit to my friends and fellow listeners that it seems to me an inevitability of Hitler. Hillary. Freudian, right? Of Hitler's victory. Okay, so maybe that's me. Maybe I'm a defeatist, but why? Hillary's going to be anything different, anything unexpected? How about if I say that?
She's not going to be. I mean, she's just going to be the
okay. Listen,
boring old whatever we got now.
I want people to like me, so I'm going to go with Bernie Sanders, right?
Okay.
Basically, is that what I got to do? Just start.
I want Donald Trump. I think Bernie
the pipe.
Great. I think Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders for vice president. There's
certainly an adorable quality to somebody like Donald Trump, a person that can say, just the most anything crosses his mind, in our political system. Not,
he makes good decisions. He makes good decisions.
I don't know about his decisions.
He does. Okay. He makes good business decisions. Let's face it.
People vote Donald Trump in, and then we find out that he's, under the pay of the Saudis.
I mean, he's not. Literally, his father left him $200 million. He's turned it into, I don't know, some amount, many $1 billion. He's done it by making business decisions and not being waffly.
Okay.
So don't think that Trump is a clown. He's definitely not.
The Christians
you might very well be exactly what America needs with Putin as president in.
That's some damn good dope they got there in Canada. Okay, Sid. All right.
Oh yeah.
At my gym, the gym Christians, they talk up people like Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz. I mean, why are the Christians locked in to their
Christians? Well, they're evangelicals. That's why. It's an evangelical thing. They have to. It's what
they have to. Okay, if I was an evangelical, I have to be.
I have to push Jesus Christ's agenda. I have to make it vocal. Why
don't they just admit that we should be a theocracy? I mean, that's what they want. They should say, instead of voting for a candidate, let's get a theocracy in here.
Well, I mean, when you walk up like Ted Cruz did when he won the Iowa caucus, and the first thing he says is, "Thank God." Whatever.
And then the president's on his way to a national prayer breakfast or something.
And the president's on his way to the mosque.
Right. Okay. Well, Sid, this is good. Let's just go ahead and spend this last minute here to dovetail. Are there any, sort of goals that you have in store for the Great Debate community for 2016, or are you just going to keep on trucking?
I've ignored the Great Debate community for the most part. I want to just tell you something that I've been away for a while, for at least a month or two.
Mhm.
Not sort of as much as a regular thing, but every now and again I listen to a live hangout. I don't necessarily hop in. Sometimes I hop in, but I listen. But sometimes I'm just watching a live hangout that somebody in the community is holding, and they're talking about the same old subjects,
The same thing,
same old histories. It's gonna fade away. You know how people get bored?
Okay.
They're gonna get bored, and
Shamos. That's what.
Yeah. So it's up to people who are a little bit more innovative, like perhaps you and I, to bring it up a level, step it up a level.
Okay. Let's get some atheists in here that are gonna just freaking shake the walls and eclipse the G-Man Peridium.
You take Christopher Hitchens, you take Daniel Dennett, you take Sam Harris, you take Adam Carolla, and you see what they are doing. They're not fucking holding back.
Right. Well, Sid, this has been a wonderful presentation. I'd like to thank Sid. Can you hang around? I'm going to go ahead and open up the Hangout towards other participants. I'd like to thank all the listeners. I'll be back in just a sec.
So will I.
I'm sending out invites. Just give me like a minute.
Yeah, I'm back.
Here, I'll put invites in the side chat if you want to invite peeps. Well, all right. I mean, how's the weather, Sid?
How's the weather?
Hey, how you doing, Tim?
Oh, you're
great seeing you, man.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were talking to me or whoever else is in
this. I'm sending out. I'm trying to multitask. I'm sending out the invites. How have you been, man?
Pretty good, I suppose. How about yourself?
Oh,
invite Lou.
Okay. Tim, you know my friend Sid?
No, I do not. Hello, Sid.
Sid, this is my friend Tim.
What up?
A friend of Bunto is a friend of mine.
Hey, you know what? Bunto is probably the strangest human being I know, and that's why I love him so much.
I think he's one of the sanest human beings I know.
Fifth arm.
That's kind of the interesting dichotomy about him, is because on one hand he's extremely eccentric, and on the other hand, there's a good mind on his shoulders.
Eccentric in what way?
I blame my mother.
How do you explain eccentricity of Bunto? I don't see it.
Well,
you should see what he takes, right?
He's an artist, and artists are generally eccentric people, I would say.
An artist in what way? A musician?
Well, the memes, Sid.
Well, yeah, I mean the memes and things like that.
That's an art.
Yeah, I'd say so. In order of a certain type, I suppose. But you know, the other thing about Bunto is that in terms of, well, most people around me, he's eccentric, because everyone else around me, if you define normality as being whatever's around me, then yeah.
Tanya wants the link.
Okay, Tanya, I'm getting it there. Your wish is my command. People around you, right, Tim?
Oh, well, I live in a Christian family, and I live in the middle of America,
Okay.
which is, you know, a Christian place mostly, unfortunately, but you know.
Sid said in our great show that 66% of the world's atheists. What say you, Tim?
What say I?
Yeah.
That's probably an accurate statistic, considering the fact that
66%.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. And you know, if you consider what people consider religious by standards perhaps 200 years ago, then definitely that amount. By today, I mean, you know, to say you're atheist is a lot different now than it used to be, because nowadays people can say something like, well, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, or something like that, and that's generally considered not atheist. But in all reality, when somebody says something like that, by most other measurements, that's pretty atheist.
Yeah. All right. Absolutely.
I'd say so. I mean, a lot of people say, oh, you know, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. That's not religion to me. So.
Okay, you're not demanding somebody to say there is no God, right? You're willing to listen to them say they have a spiritual side and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, even people like Sam Harris describes spirituality as something completely devoid of any idea of deities, and it doesn't even have to have supernatural a supernatural side to it. I mean, he's basically just renamed atheism and self-help and self-actualization, all those things, to mean to be spiritual. But yeah, I'd say it's a lot different than saying you're atheist or saying that you're religious, to be honest. So.
Okay, Sid. So, you know, you're encountering a bunch of people saying they're spiritual. You go ahead and accept that. I think you're muted, Sid.
Yeah, he's muted.
Sorry. I say this: the soul, spirituality, the supernatural, that all is nonsense. It's all as much a concept as God is.
Right, but you know, you wouldn't look at them askance, wanting them to be a harder atheist.
I'd look at them as I wouldn't trust them, because they obviously are deluded or confused or something. Because when they talk spirit, nobody knows what spirituality is. Let's face it. You have as much information as I have, and you're one of the smartest people on the planet. You know, you certainly are. You know, in the top percentile. And if you don't get it, then it doesn't exist.
Right. Okay. Scientists can't see spirituality. What do you think, Tim?
Scientists can't see. Well, of course they can. Science measures what it can see, what it can
behaviors,
observe, and that's the only knowledge that we can know. I mean, we can't know something that's inherently nondescript, completely open to interpretation. Right. I don't know how someone is supposed to measure a soul or put it into any sort of describe it in any way. It's nonsense to me to think that there is a soul, and that's why one of the things I love about what Sam Harris says is that, you know, you can still have this sense of purpose without having to invoke supernatural elements like spirits and souls and gods or angels, demons, whatever the case may be.
Okay, Christopher Hitchens died. Is there going to be a fourth horseman, or that was just a once in a lifetime moment?
David Silverman. David Silverman.
David Silverman, describe him. I've never heard of him.
Oh, he's the. Hold on, let me go on camera.
He's the leader of the atheists.
He's the president of American Atheists. Yeah.
Okay, why do you like that guy?
Because he cuts to the chase. I love what he says. Kill religion.
Kill religion.
Dead. I love it. He's just got a book out that everybody should read.
Okay, Tim, would you consider yourself just, you know, Joe Lunchbucket atheist, or would you call yourself a definite anti-theist?
I'm a definite anti-theist.
Let's get the church.
I have absolutely no love for religion whatsoever. In my mind, religion is the single most dangerous thing that humanity has ever come up with, and that we still live with. I see nothing good coming out of religion that can't come out of a non-dogmatic way of living. To me, I don't. Everyone's like, oh, well, it gives people a sense of purpose. It does this and this. Okay, well, that's great. I can also find a diamond in a pile of shit. But that doesn't mean I need to take the entire pile of shit to take the diamond. And that's the problem. People are like, oh, well, religion does this and that for people. Yeah, well, religion also promotes, violence and death and discrimination. Why should we take all of that along with the good if we can just have the good? And you don't need religion for any of it. So
that's a very good point. All right, Christopher Hitchens. Will anybody ever replace this guy? I mean, we're sort of on the lookout still for Christopher Hitchens.
Master orator. I don't know if you can replace him, honestly.
Just a wit.
In terms of the intellect and the speaking gifts and all this kind of stuff, the whole package, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
I don't think so either. He was a master at what he did.
He was exactly. He was one of a kind. Genius.
But I think
it's a shame.
I would say that I think Dawkins is a little bit underrated because of the two books. God Delusion and God is Not Great. I only read or listened to the first chapter of God is Not Great and got the whole point of it. You know what I mean? It's sort of like Hitchens right away in that book, laid down the foundations of why God is specious.
Yeah, but Hitchens was a philosopher.
Right.
Dawkins is a zoologist or something.
He's a scientist, right? The thing is that book, The God Delusion, is a wonderful book. It's interesting. I mean.
Right.
It makes sense to me. It was on
exactly
the bestseller list for a whole year. So I in my mind, I think Dawkins is a little underrated as far as being a part of those.
Way underrated. Although every one of those guys is underrated. Every single one of them. Sam Harris, Daniel Dennett.
Even Dennett. Okay, Dennett.
Dennet's probably the most underrated of them all. Yes. I think, to be honest.
He's not a delivery, but his books are very interesting.
Oh God, what was it? I can't remember. I read it, and I can't remember. It was his book. It was basically discussing religion as being a sort of meme. What was it called? I can't remember. But the thing about Dennett is that he is a pure philosopher through and through.
Yeah.
And everything, each of the four guys had their different ways of looking at things. Hitchens was an orator. Hitchens was more interested in the cultural impact and the cultural side of religion, and he could tell. The thing about his book is that he really goes into more stories and more
anecdotes.
Yeah,
tales,
anecdotes about what religion has done.
Remembrances, memoirs.
Yeah, and of course he had a fantastic sense of humor.
Right.
Whereas Dawkins' book approaches it from a more rational, more logical,
explanatory.
It's more explanatory point of view, and then Dennett really goes into the philosophical side,
the workings of the mind.
Yeah, the workings of the mind, and how religion is perpetrated, how it's perpetuated. How it's perpetuated throughout.
To me, Sam Harris just shows the vacuousness of the whole enterprise. He says we should have a society without religion. That's the way. Remember, he had a real short book. Hi, Tanya. Welcome to the show. Called what was that? Letter to a Christian Nation.
Letter to a Christian Nation. Great book.
Great book. A little pamphlet, much in the way of Tom Paine.
My personal favorite of his. My personal favorite of his is this one right here, The Moral Landscape.
Yeah, The Moral Landscape.
Because for so long, the biggest thing, this is what he tackles, is the moral side. The
morality of the religion.
The idea that you can't have morality without religion. And he lays it out perfectly in here that morality has nothing to do with religion. So,
it certainly doesn't.
No. It's a product of our biology. That's what it is. And if we don't understand that, then we're going to try to.
I mean, what the fuck? Why are we stuck? I don't get. You know what I don't understand is why are we stuck at this point in our anthropological history? What the fuck is going on?
21st century, and we're talking about Holy Spirit.
A lot of people, you know what, Sid? If you look at, I saw a lot of pictures, a lot of graphs showing the advance of science, and then all of a sudden the Dark Ages. And if it hadn't have been for that, do you know where we could have been now? I mean,
well, yeah, the Romans were coming up with inventions.
And then the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment was such a wonderful time in our history, and America was pretty much the first nation founded on Enlightenment ideals. Right. And then all of a sudden we turned it into this Christian joke.
I realize that if it wasn't for the Dark Ages, I could be right now flying my own little asteroid Van Allen belt and fucking like at the amusement park or something.
Right. The thing that ended the Dark Ages, interesting enough, was the Black Death, the plague, killed off enough people in Middle Europe that
50%.
People wanted to know what was going on. They came up with germ theory instead of evil spirits being the cause of disease.
Actually, they just found out that it wasn't those black rats. It was gerbil rats.
Oh, wow. Well, either way, you caught it in the morning or dead at night, right? Wasn't that what the Black Plague?
Yeah. But it changed a lot of things at the end of the. I mean, it didn't take very long. It was like for 1347 to 1351. That's what, 5 years.
5 years for
decimate 50% of the population, and then you've got a whole imbalance
hierarchy of social systems.
All of a sudden, laborers are. They aren't that many, right? So they can demand more money, and all of a sudden, there aren't people to run things that used to run things, and the whole dynamic changed.
All right, so actual nature helped us get out of the theocracy that we were locked into at that point. Okay, so that's going to happen again.
How so?
Well, I mean, the Black Death came about, and
How did that kick theocracy out? In fact, it should have absolutely booted theocracy right down right off the planet. How it didn't is beyond me.
Well, it just shows you the staying power of fairy tales. All right, there's many people.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just saying that it stayed because it was an explanatory framework for people. It made sense out of their lives and things like that. And now that we have a much more viable explanatory framework, in the form of science, I don't see the necessity of religion anymore. It really wasn't ever necessary in the sense that we needed it to continue as a species, but people used it to give meaning to their lives. Now we don't need that crap.
I don't want to sort of sound like I don't know what the word is, but it doesn't sound. It's not a positive thing. But you need religion as much as you need McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's.
All right.
It provides jobs.
Okay, there's it's a socioeconomic
basis. Dangerous product. It's going to kill you in the end, but it provides jobs.
Okay, look, the people in our community want to still believe in Jesus. I
want to believe in Wendy's.
Science. They want to believe that the Earth is flat. They want to believe that NASA doesn't exist. I mean,
those nutcases.
Why? I mean, why is our community different than anything that we see in our own social life? I mean, why don't we see the flat Earth community of Leander, Texas? I mean, we only see it here. Is it the internet or what?
Is it? Tell me something. Flat Earth thinking. Is it only within the continental USA? Is it anywhere else in the world?
I would dare say that it's on an upward trajectory.
Sad thing.
The internet sort of ties it together. There's a fervor now of people believing that the Earth is flat and that everything that NASA does and provides is false evidence.
Pretty soon, everybody's going to get their own ride up into space. They're going to have to, in order to defeat this flat Earth society thinking. Every single one of those people should be taken up into space on their own private rocket. Just like they want.
Okay, and that's
Rose
the only way it'll work.
Has gone and
really,
that's what would take it. That's what would take Rose Patton to not be a flat earther, is to go up in someone's private rocket, see for herself.
Where is that really what it will take? Because Tanya brings up a good thing in the side chat that now even celebs are talking about it, because we had this Canadian guy, right, bring up that he's a Canadian rapper, I believe. He's having
B.O.B.
B.O.B.
Right, B.O.B. having a tit for tat with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and of course Neil deGrasse schooled the guy one way or another. Lots of interesting articles came from that. So I mean,
The flat Earth thing comes from a fundamental distrust of science, and
Yes,
the other-
anti-intellectualism.
It comes from the Bible, where apparently it says you stand on the top of the mountain, you can see everything, you can see the whole Earth, and if you stand on the top of the mountain, you can't see a globe, you can only see a circle.
But see, I don't even think putting people on a ship, putting people on a rocket, and sending them up to space, there are some people that wouldn't even convince. And I think the reason why is
I
because
think you're right.
they'll always have some explanation for why they're seeing with, it's some sort of projection
No,
on windows.
no, they can't.
whatever
They can't. Everybody will laugh at them if that happens.
Hey, Gus,
everyone will
welcome
laugh
to the
at
show.
them.
Hey, Gus.
Okay,
I think there are people that will believe whatever they want to believe, regardless of what they're shown. That's the problem.
right. These people that will believe, in the face of evidence, the Earth is flat. The thing is that other people listen to them and they're growing, upward trajectory community. I mean, what does that say about the current state of education in the Western civilization? Gus? Any comments?
Current state of it. Oh, listen.
Well, how about, okay, is it education or is it tolerance, Gus?
Give me the show, go get a snack, and I'll fucking tell you everything that's wrong with Western education.
Okay, so education could be the remedy to the flat earthers, or is it just...
That's absolutely the remedy to the flat earthers. It's absolutely the remedy to the flat earthers, but not necessarily in the way that you think.
Okay.
For one, look, the flat earthers. The problem with conspiracy theorists all boils down to two questions: what do you know, and who do you trust?
Okay.
Right? If you talk to a conspiracy dude for long enough, and he'll give you a litany of people he doesn't trust. He doesn't trust the government. He doesn't trust the agencies. He doesn't trust NASA. He doesn't trust the guy down the street who's looking at him. You know he's looking at him. You know he's looking at him. Like, this is about who he doesn't trust. And one of the things that the education system has to do is it has to figure out how to get these people to trust the people who have fallen out of confidence. And that's one of the toughest. That's one of the toughest things. That's very tough. It's very difficult.
Okay, you're telling me that people like...
Some of the smartest people I know are conspiracy theorists. These people aren't stupid. Now, we happen to know some very stupid conspiracy theorists. I could give you three right off the top of my fucking head. But there's a lot of conspiracy theorists that aren't stupid. As a matter of fact, the classical model of the conspiracy theorist generally was the late 30s, early 40s middle-class man who had established his life. He was a little smarter than your average person. He established his life. He's got his house, he's got his car, he's got his mortgage set up, and his life has fallen into a routine, and he's got a shit ton of extra brain power going on. And all of a sudden, he starts noticing things, and he forgets that correlation isn't causation. This is the seed of the classic conspiracy theorist. Right?
Conspiracy theory is hobby.
Yes. But there have been what we've seen is a rise or an increase in the conspiracy theorist as activist, right?
All right.
The conspiracy theorist as warrior, right? What are they fighting against? Well, invariably it's the government. So it's not just about teaching these people that Neil Armstrong did actually walk on the moon. It's about teaching them that they can trust their government. And the only way that we're going to do that is to make a government that's worth trusting.
Okay, so we're going to be living with conspiracy theory probably till
forever.
Before that.
Forever. I mean, we're there. I mean, listen. It doesn't. I mean, there were conspiracy theories back in the day when Washington was forming the government, right? Like,
okay.
I mean, Washington's wooden teeth were actually given to him as a gift by Lord Cornwallis in order so that he could secretly turn on America 10 years later, please. There will always be one or two of these people. It's just a question of how many, how much, and how far.
Okay, Sid posited that flat Earth belief is somehow connected to Christianity. What say you?
I don't think that's it depends. I mean, there are some flat earthers that look in the... Okay, let me back up. The problem with the Bible isn't that it says one or two things. The problem with the Bible is that if you look hard enough, you can get it to say anything.
All right.
And so, at the end of the day, I mean, from what I can tell, is the Christians that have become flat earthers, they've done so on the notion that since the government is corrupt, nothing that it says can be true. Since NASA is of man, nothing that says can be true. Therefore, you can't trust it. Therefore, you know,
God. Dot, dot,
God.
dot, therefore God.
God, and therefore, you know, here in the Bible it says the Earth is flat. So
hold on a second. What did I posit?
Well, you said, that we were talking about the flat Earth, and you said it's because their Bible says the Earth is flat.
Yeah, well, there's a point in the Bible where it says if you stand on the highest point in the whole Earth and you look all around you, you can see the whole planet. Something like that. And they base the flat Earth, their flat Earth theory or the flat Earth beliefs from the Bible, because they believe the Bible.
At never at one point in the history of the Americas has somebody said, "Hey, enough of this baloney. Religion is false." If that were to ever occur, I mean, would we start seeing, an adherence to science, or we'd see, a reaction towards, we see the anti-intellectualism that we see nowadays? Anyone?
You'd see a lot less zombie movies.
But I mean, for people that actually say that religion is bullshit openly and not be sanctioned for it, would that be of any worth to progressing our society?
I think that it would. I think that it would lead people to because a lot of these religious people, they're willingly ignorant because they're trusting God for everything, like every fucking thing.
I appreciate your honesty, Tanya.
So. Yeah, I think it would give people a chance to actually, because there's going to be a void that you have, and you're going to have no choice but to search it out. It's in our nature, it's just the way it's going to be. And then you would lead to actual education on facts, science, provable shit.
Right. I'd like to welcome Christian Anarchist to our show. Welcome, Christian. Okay, Christian, would you characterize yourself as a well-educated adherent to Christ?
I would like to think so, concerned in certain matters of the Christian faith, yes.
Right.
Can we ask, Christian, are you qualified to address the flat Earth I don't know what it
Craze?
is, belief?
Bad.
I've covered on it a couple times, and it's recent, and I actually just got done doing a podcast about this topic, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is it a Christian thing, or is it just a flat earther thing, Christian?
Well, that's the thing. No one really knows exactly where this started. We do know, and this is the point they'll always say, oh, the ancient Hebrews believe this. And that is true. I had consulted Dr. Michael Brown, a Messianic Jew, Hebrew scholar, and said, yes, they did believe this stuff. However, and this is from the same type of person that holds to, Jewish people believed back then, it's the Bible is not making a scientific claim concerning this issue. Anytime you see those, they're either referring to something like God's sovereignty, or their praise or psalms given to the Lord, or they're being aimed for some sort of metaphor to something else in a poetic language.
Okay, the Jews know it's metaphor, but the Christians haven't figured that out?
Yeah, that's a good question, huh?
Well, you got to remember, Bunto, that the Christians think that Judaism is a failed version of the one true way to worship God, right?
Okay.
So why would Christians take anything outside of their own faith as even if they admit that Jewish people are trying to worship, quote unquote, the right God, they think they don't have it right. So nothing that they would say is worthwhile.
Okay.
Well, they actually
Catholics. Go ahead.
If I could, real quick, they actually think that God, because this is in the Bible, that God is purposely blinding them right now.
Wow.
And then when Jesus comes back, after the Antichrist goes into the third temple, blah, 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 then they'll realize, and then they'll come back home to Daddy, and happily ever after, except for everybody else who didn't believe.
Right. Okay, listen, the Catholics have figured this out, that the earth is round, right? And that's the problem with sola scriptura, that these Protestants and, fundies that Tanya brings up have to believe in an actual literal representation of what the Bible is saying. Right, Christian?
Not all the time. That's why we have to make sure we're doing a good exegesis of the text, not trying to do eisegesis, and this would be one of the things that one of my Catholic friends has stated would be the dangers of sola scriptura, is that the Bible can get into the wrong hands of the wrong people.
Wow, interesting. What say you, Gus, about that admission?
Well, it's like saying water's wet. I mean, every religious tome has found its way into the wrong group.
The wrong hands for a religious tome. If that's not a reason to get rid of religion altogether,
Hold on, the Catcher on the Rye could get into the wrong hands of the wrong people.
How could I? Well, how could it get the wrong? Well,
absolutely. Imagine somebody getting a copy of Lord of the Rings and deciding that they want to arrange that they want to raise up an army based off of the Uruk-hai out of the White Tower. Imagine.
Okay, I'll give you that, but the thing is, like, I think of magnitude. Okay, the Catholic Church told their adherents not to study the Bible, right? And then, but the Protestants did. So there's a magnitude of a group of people who want to, bring the dangerous interpretation.
That is one thing I'll give to the Catholic Church. At least they keep their yahoos in line.
Okay, that's the point.
You don't have Catholics wandering around in the bush playing with snakes, at the very least.
Right, snake handling in Mark.
Seriously. And you will handle venomous snakes. Oh no, you won't. The snake's got other ideas.
Let me ask Christian really quick. Christian, we know that there's portions of the Bible that have been interpolated into it, like the long section of Mark that say you can handle snakes and so forth. You agree?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't agree with how the Pentecostals view that verse, that we gotta start dancing with snakes, a bunch of snakes in our hands, and singing "Come to Jesus."
When scholars find out those portions of the Bible that have been added, isn't it incumbent upon the religion to, amend the Bible? It's been a while.
Well, here's the thing. What do you mean by add to the Bible?
Interpolation, where we can detect things were added to the Scripture, for the benefit of a dogma or something.
Right.
We want to have a Bible that is, what is God's word? This is what is said, not a Bible that, when a certain dogma came apart in the religion, it was added to the Bible. The Trinity wasn't, or original to the Bible, just came sort of later.
Well, the Trinity was original. Here's the thing that's always interesting. Some people, and this is especially an argument from King James only advocates, saying that the modern translations do not have 1 John 5:7 in there.
Okay.
And this is the Bible verse that explicitly defines the Trinity, and even the Muslims and all of them will try to go by this. However, here's one thing to notice. That verse didn't come into existence until the 14th century, when Erasmus was starting to write the Textus Receptus.
I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
Bart Ehrman talked about it in Forged. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so one of the things is that, and Bart Ehrman has meant this as an argument that it's become an invented doctrine, but before then, you have early church father quotes in their writings concerning the doctrine of the Trinity. You have the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Constantinople. You have all these different meetings way before this time, and everyone is already talking about the concept of the doctrine of the Trinity without even having a Bible verse needing to be mentioned. Besides,
so we better finally add it in there, right? So we'd better finally add it in there. That was the thinking.
Well, the Catholic Church wanted an explicit statement in there with 1 John 5:7.
Okay.
And they basically peer pressured Erasmus into putting that in there too.
That's what Bart Ehrman said. Okay, well, let me ask you this: as a Christian, would you rather read a Bible without interpolation, or you want to just read what you got now?
Read without interpolation.
Or read an unabridged Bible. Would you rather read an unabridged Bible, or would you read what you got now?
I would like to read an unabridged Bible, but the problem is that we've lost the originals, and the only thing we really got are manuscript copies that we have. The closest completed ones were being in 300 AD.
Is it vital for the Christian to know the Bible nowadays?
Absolutely. If they're gonna, especially if they're gonna start talking about certain teachings and doctrines.
Okay. you know, some churches just talk up Jesus, you know, how wonderful he is. I mean, isn't that the best you can do with Christianity? Talk about how great Jesus is, but when you get into the, you know, the skeletons in the closet, you run into problems. LGBT hatred, slavery adherence, you know, false prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Where to end, you know?
Right.
What do you,
I would disagree with you on the first part, but yeah, I mean.
okay, you would rather go to a church where they're heavy into Scripture, or they're into the, you know, the glory of God?
I would go to a church and this would be like Spurgeon, as he said, if you go to a church and you do not hear the pastor mention Jesus or the gospel, best make that your last sermon. Because that's the important part of the faith, is the gospel and Jesus. I remember seeing a cartoon from Lutheran satire where the guy's saying, you notice that sermons consist of you talking for 200 minutes about random theologies like the doctrines of hell and the doctrines of so and such. It's like, yes. Well, you think that might be the reason why we're having low church attendance, because you're talking about that and you're not talking about how Jesus Christ died for everyone? Then it's like, pish posh, of course. Let's get talking. I don't know why this thought came to my head.
Right. Okay, Christian, Sid says that there's 66% atheists, dominance of the culture here in the Americas. What say you? I said there's only 6% atheists here in the United States and Canada.
Nah, I don't know. I mean,
66%. Doesn't that sound like a high number to you?
Sounds high, yeah.
I mean, are we living in an atheist country or a Christian one?
Nah, I think it's just a country. I don't think we need to label it or identify it with any other thing.
Okay.
I said 66% globally.
Oh, globally. Okay, you believe the world is 66% atheist, Christian?
I don't know. I mean, because the thing is that I don't focus on one or two aspects. I think we to focus on all the different aspects, all the different religions and different cultures that's going on. So,
okay,
possible maybe. I'm not sure.
You are certain there is a God?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Sid believes that 66% of people don't. I mean, doesn't that shock you?
Not really.
I mean, why are you so special snowflake then?
Special snowflake? What is that?
How can you explain it? I mean, you're certain there's a God.
Uh-huh.
You're willing to agree that there's 66% of people that actually don't. I mean, why should you? Well, I mean, what's the magic there? Tell me how it works.
Well, in the theology that I am gathered in, I come from the Reformed Calvinist perspective, and one of the things for that is that God chooses to reveal Himself to people and to, of course, take out the heart of stone, give them the heart of flesh, to allow them to receive salvation, believe. Yeah.
So only certain people are supposed to get the God concept, right?
If it's God's will, yes.
All right. Anyone want to comment about that sort of thinking? That, hey, you know, the guy who made the whole universe only wants certain people to know?
Well, yes, God is imaginary.
Okay. What say you, Christian? I mean, to somebody who will respond that way to what you just put forth?
Meh.
I mean, okay, to prove that, yes, God is purposely blinding you. I mean, how does a Christian go about, you know, testing sacred scripture and making it provable?
Well, we are a little more consistent at times when we go by, at least from what I view, when we go by this theology. Of course, my Catholics and Orthodox brothers and sisters are going to disagree with me on this concept. But as far as, you know, how this is viewed in light of theology or preaching the gospel, I think it's very consistent with it.
Do you feel as a Christian that people have to know about the good news? They have to know about God?
I think that if they hear of the gospel, then that's the only way they get saved, yes.
Okay, but they, you know, have to understand it. Do you ever feel the pressure there to saying, hey, you know, you guys have to understand because this is reality? You know, like if I woke up, you know, went to sleep and woke up in a world that didn't believe in gravity, I'd be like, you know, what went wrong, guys? Gravity exists, you know, and I'd maybe take pains of, you know, trying to explain it to people that, like the flat earthers, you know, it's still to this day, I'll try to explain to a flat earther how the earth is not flat. I mean, does it bug you that way, that you have to explain to people why there is a God?
I feel like I have to explain gravity to them already.
Does anybody, you know, see it that way, that, you know, if you're going to be a Christian and believe in a certain reality, you have to be able to, you know, make other people are on board? Anyone? I mean,
again, repeat that one.
I mean, if you're to be a Christian, if you're going to go wake up a Christian tomorrow, Sid, isn't it important that you impress people about how real it is?
No, I'm sorry. Wake up a Christian tomorrow?
Yeah, you go to sleep an atheist, you wake up a Christian, you're going to make sure people know it's real.
I can't imagine that. No, I can't. I can't imagine going to sleep an atheist and having some kind of a epiphany. I don't know, a dream, epiphany, a revelation in my head overnight, or when I wake up, that changes my whole. That basically turns everything I know upside down, or everything I have learned upside down, and I push that aside for this epiphany that I had in my dream, and that no one else can see, and that no one else can know about, because I can't really explain it to them. I just don't see it. I just no.
That's a good point, Sid. What say you, Tanya, or Christian? I mean, can you see some difficulties on, you know, trying to be the Christian?
Well, you know, as a Christian, well, when I was a Christian, I felt the need to tell people, because I was like, you know, oh my God, they're going to go to hell unless they...
Right.
And I felt like that was my job.
Right.
You know? And I was slick about it. I figured people out. I read people. I figured out that ramming it down people's throat doesn't work. You know, so then I started debating, and that's actually what got me studying the Bible more.
Right, and then what happened?
Gee, and then after 6 years of trying to explain away all the problems that I had to face, I had to. Every Christian does. I just, you know, kind of realized that it was bullshit.
Okay, Tanya, if you had to like do it again for some reason, like somebody put a gun to your head and said you had to be a Christian, I mean, you'd understand that you'd have to be in that mindset of trying to explain that it's real to people, right? I mean, you know what I mean? You'd have to be like, well, I'm going to tell you that there's such a thing as God and believe it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Christian, do Christians have a difficulty doing that? I mean, just always being on point every day?
You mean not sinning or not evangelizing?
I mean, you know, to convincing people that, hey, this is real.
I think there is difficulty at times, especially with the modern age we're living in, because we've had, of course, the new books released by Dawkins and Hitchens, which have had a great influence, especially ever since 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And we're living in the intellectual age where we're having technology increasing, science is progressing as well, and some people are turning to see that. And plus, we have all these other advances. Like I saw an article today about can our brains live forever? Possibly allowing some form of immortality to be considered in the works.
Maybe upload our brain into a computer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was just thinking that, you know, if there's anything that I did learn from, I was a Christian at one time too. It's just like there has to be that drive to like be on the team and believe that it's real. You know, and it just, to me, it just disintegrated. Hey, Tom, welcome to the show. When you find yourself, you know, not feeling the impetus to, you know, I mean, how do you recharge yourself? You just start hanging around other theists, other believers?
Oh, sometimes I do that. Sometimes I hang out with non-believers. Sometimes I hang out with my Bibles. Sometimes I watch anime, or I'll play guitar, or I'll eat some kind of southern dish. I have several ways.
Okay. Has anybody else here took a chance at Christianity and tried to make it work besides me and Tonya?
No.
How about you? How about Judaism? I'm sure you tried to make that work, right, Sid?
Well, I try to study it, but I didn't try to live it. I try to find a
Okay,
reason to
interesting.
live it, but I
Well,
didn't find a reason to live it.
You have a very interesting religion that they don't proselytize, right? You're either born a Jew or
Oh,
you're
they
not.
proselytize.
Jews
Two
proselytize.
Jews.
Two
Oh,
Jews. That's what I meant. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like the Christians where they want to
No.
get anybody on the team,
In
right?
fact, I'll give you there were a couple of examples, two in particular that I remember when I was living in Israel as a secular person, where I was approached by the black hats.
Okay, the Orthodox.
The Orthodox. They approach you. Are you a Jew? Yeah. Well, why don't you come have dinner on Friday night? And this, that, and the other. I mean, they never got any further than that. But that's how they. No, three now that I can think of. Holy crap! That's building. But yeah, that's what they do. It's called returning you to Judaism or whatever.
Messianic and
I
Reformed
don't know,
Jews.
the return. I don't know. Whatever. I'm not sure what it's called. But anyway, that's the way they try and get you. They get you to return and to study and to, I don't know,
Okay.
become part of the cult.
Did any time did Christianity appeal to you, Sid?
Never.
Why not, Sid? Why didn't you get on your knees and get forgiven of all your sins?
Well, I didn't know about Christianity until, just like I didn't know about any religion until I was until I was able to think for myself. I was probably 12 when I was really introduced to anything to do with religion, and by that time, when somebody told me bullshit for the first time when you're 12, it's not like when you're 6 and somebody says there is a God and you're going to go to hell or heaven. For the rest of your life, you're traumatized. But at 12 years old, somebody says to you, there is a God and you're either going to go to hell or heaven, you laugh in his face.
That's an interesting point. Okay, Tom, are you there? You want to join in the show? Let me ask Tom a question. Tom, have you ever gotten your knees and asked for forgiveness? Shakes his head no. Okay, Tom is a well-known YouTube atheist. I've known him for quite a while. Okay, Christian, it's important to get on your knees and ask forgiveness or not? To be a Christian.
I'm not so sure about the getting on your knees part, but I think when it comes to asking for forgiveness of sins, Bible says if we ask for forgiveness, He is just to forgive us of our sins. But I think the main important part is knowing what is the sin in the first place, and that's where repentance comes in. You have a changed mind about it.
That's important, okay, to know what sin is in the first place. Okay, in my understanding of Christianity, we are born bad guys, and it takes God to make us right.
Well, depending on the flavor. Mine, of course, will say that, yes, the total depravity doctrine. But then there will be some that say that you're born good with just a neutral state, and some of the things you do can change your stasis. Like Eastern Orthodox believe you're born neutral, and if you're staying in the church, the more you age, the more closer to being like Christ you are in spirit and physical.
Okay. Let me ask Tanya this, since she was a Christian. Is there any way you can make that work?
Make what work? Sorry, can you sum it up real quick?
That one way or another, you're born that you need to be saved.
No. I never started feeling like that until I was told. And I was told at a very young age. So.
Very good point. How to make a religion work where they're not somehow making you beholden to something that you have to worship, right? Where you have to talk to some guy in the sky to get yourself right. This is a hurdle for people that believe in things that are real, people that are materialists, people that are scientists. But it doesn't seem for a lot of people in our community. I mean, how do we reach those people and tell them, hey, you're not any way beholden to some sky god. You just have to start believing in science and method. Anyone have an approach? My approach.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say my approach is I just tell people that there is no God, and that there's science and method that we can rely upon. Maybe there's a better one.
Well, like for me, it was a process. I got to the point where I felt comfortable questioning God because I reached the point in my faith where I believed God was the truth, so I shouldn't be scared of anything. So then I started like researching and learning about evolution. I watched that Cosmos show, and that's part of what changed me. And I realized how small we are here on Earth.
Right.
And I was like, then there's no fucking way that there's a God that's that limited and that small to just be that way. And then I started having a lot of problems with the Old Testament God.
Right.
And, if they would have just taken the approach, like humanity in general, to just start off with the Jesus thing, then that would have been great, because then nobody has to worry about shit. We wouldn't be scared of this God in the first place. We would know nothing but love and mercy, and it would be great. But no, we know that he's a crazy psychopath killer.
Right. Okay. I'll give you all that. And Sid says that it's okay to have religious freedom laws. What say you now, Tonya? Religious freedom in America.
Well, I think there should be religious freedom, if that's
really. What's the point to that?
The individual's, comfort and coping mechanisms. Who are we to, limit people?
I saw an interesting sign last week. It said "Vote for Ted Cruz." It was on a church billboard. That's religious laws at work in America.
That's freedom of speech, though. It's a bitch.
Yep.
Okay. It's okay for the president to have these, go participate in a national prayer breakfast, go to a mosque and talk up, their fairy tales.
Now, that I don't agree with. I think that we should separate church and state like the fuck we're supposed to, But then would we be, and I just thought of this, but if we did that to, let's say, our president, we said, okay, you can't, promote or display any kind of religious belief because you're in the government now. Would that be limiting a citizen of the United States from his First Amendment rights?
Okay, so to you, it's a freedom of expression. It's a right to say fairy tales, talking snakes exist, Red Sea parted.
Within the law, like as long as it's not harming anybody.
Okay.
Physically.
So that's okay to handle snakes if it's within the law, Christian?
I mean,
to handle snakes within the law.
If you're an adult,
man. It's my religious expression. I can go ahead and subject my toddler to. What are the Christian? Go ahead.
Nope, you wouldn't subject your toddler if you're gonna do something that ridiculous. Go ahead and do it yourself, but keep it out of other people's. Don't force it onto them.
But that's the whole point. It's a silly religion with silly concepts. We have laws that protect it.
The whole snake handling thing is mainly in the Pentecostal thing, which is in a minority within the Christian major denominations of Protestantism.
And I think we do have laws that protect children from that kind of stuff. But if an adult decides to do it, I mean, if they want to be stupid, I guess they're allowed.
We had an interesting, I think it went away. Remember they were using some sort of religious waiver against taking vaccines? Remember that one? They're saying it's against my religion.
Yeah.
But I think they got rid of that. I think they got rid of it. I'm not sure. I wish Pyong was here. But, using the religious freedom laws to go against the progress of our society, I think if it's evident, it should be gotten rid of.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Okay, Sid. America is on fire with religion, but Canada isn't.
Say it again.
America is on fire with religious belief, but Canada has far superseded our childish ways.
Yeah. You guys are literally 200 years. You stopped 200 years ago. No, in I don't know when the hell, the 1812 or something. You just stopped.
You guys figured out gun laws. You guys figured out marriage equality way before us, right?
We have a parliamentary democracy, and amongst civilized people, with the responsibility of an individual vote, a secret ballot, it works better than your system in achieving ends. Yes.
Okay. Anyone say the same, that we should go parliamentary democracy? Anyone? I don't know. Maybe it's a hard sell.
I don't see how hard it can be. Ours works, yours doesn't. You can adopt our method for free. You
know, the thing that always crossed my mind is, the Christian, you're there, right? Why not theocracy? Isn't that what you guys want?
No.
Why not? I mean, if God is right, you want God calling the shots, right?
Yeah, and he has also ordained the government and governors that be as well. You find this in Romans 13 and 1 Peter chapter 2.
Okay, so that means that somebody stuck that in the Bible to say that, hey, God's telling me how to run you guys, so you better listen to me? Is that why they stuck it in there?
No, it means that whoever is in charge has been placed there by God.
I call you out on what you put in the post there on the side. I watched the newer Cosmos show and saw it, strengthened my faith a bit.
Yeah, the one with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah,
what I'm going to say is, how can your faith be a degree thing? There's a degree.
How can it be on a spectrum?
There's like a faith meter or something.
There's a faith spectrum. For Sid, it's either on or off.
Right.
Well, this was still, of course, when I was in my Armenian days as a Christian. And
he's changed, Sid.
Yeah. So I was just a simple.
Is what I'm saying.
Science helped him change his dogma.
That's what I don't understand. How?
Well, it's when I see and understand more about how the world works and how wonderful and glorious it was, and that's especially when we got to the ending of the series. It was magnificent at the point when it was zooming out and you're seeing all those different galaxies and all them different planets.
Okay, you're going to get people like MG Pillbox and Nephilim saying you missed the whole point, that there is no satellites and evolution is false.
Well, to be fair, Nephilim would disagree with Pillbox on the flat Earth concept. However, yeah, I mean, those two, as concerned in this topic, I would definitely have to disagree with them because...
Okay, have you ever had a Christian tell you not to watch those shows?
No, not really.
It will harm your faith if you watch science.
Well, we'll see about that one.
I mean, how would you respond if a Christian told you that? Said, hey, you shouldn't be watching those secular satanic shows because they're going to harm your faith.
I said, well, hey, why don't you watch it with me and we'll see how this turns out.
All right. The state of fundamentalism on the Great Debate community, Christian, it's in the wane, or is it getting stronger, or it's just the same? Don't take it seriously, or what?
Say that again?
The state of fundamentals. People like Christian Hillbilly. Are they in the past? Are we post-Christian Hillbilly fundamentalism on here in the Great Debate community? Or are we getting more like you, more into advanced Christian science?
I don't know. I mean, I think we're getting to a good.
Okay, G-Man is going to start talking science, right? Any day now.
I believe so. I hope so. Yeah. I know he's good with theology, but as far as a science issue, I definitely disagree with him on certain things.
G-Man's going to say satellites are real, NASA's real, and the Earth is round. We can hear that emanating from his mouth.
It really is just a story.
That would be interesting to see, one of the fundamentalists of our community just flip towards science. They can,
all it takes is one.
Keep the faith belief, but it's just that they change their way. I've never seen somebody say the Bible
I don't understand. I tell you what I don't understand. Dan Barker? He was a
Godless. It's a fantastic book.
Yes, but he was a big time preacher at some point, and now he's a big time atheist, and he is a brilliant speaker. How come he hasn't attracted you know, an incredible exponential amount of Christians into his way of the process of becoming an atheist. How has that not happened?
Well,
I would ask James White and Matt Slick about that one. They've debated this guy.
Well, interesting. Matt Slick, and you know Tim, he's becoming a force again. I guess on G Plus, the Bible thumping wingnut. I'd like to thank our guests. This has been a wonderful show. I'm going to go ahead and cap it here.
Is it okay if I promote something real quick before you do?
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
All right, we probably won't be able to do it tomorrow, but on Saturdays, me and a friend of mine, we're doing a show called
Yes.
Coffee and Tea with Ospen Kane and Christian Anarchist, which is a kind of like if you've seen that movie Collision with Christopher Hitchens and Douglas Wilson. It's basically me, the theist, and Ospen, the anti-theist atheist.
Okay.
We just having a little nice chat, being civil, try to get rid of the stereotypes and misconfusions between theists and atheists.
All right.
And just talk about random stuff.
You want to create a dialogue in our community between the theists and atheists, which is a little bit more proper than what we've seen screaming matches, right?
And it was him that came up with the idea. So, and I was like, sure, yeah, let's do this.
Okay. Well, could you describe him? Because I've never heard of him before. Ospen Kane. Is he a young man, old man, what?
He's a bit young. He's doing pretty. He does well. We both very good Ruby fans. Was a show we watch, but and that's kind of how we met up, and then boom.
Okay. Well, we'll be sure to look for it, and I wish you the best of luck on that show. I'd like to thank all our guests coming in, Tanya, Sid, and Tom. Haven't seen you in a while. And I wish all our listeners a happy weekend. And I don't know which team you're going for in the Super Bowl, if you're going for the Cowboys or the Dolphins. But I wish you the best. They're going to win. All right. Y'all have a good weekend. Take care.